Hey guys, my name's Heather. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about books I read. And today we're going to talk about the books that I read in the month of February. So in February, I only read 5 books. And you know what? That's okay, because I was stage managing and still am stage managing for a community theater production of Moana, which means I go to work, I come home and clean and take care of my cats. I go to rehearsal, I come home and I sleep. So that is most of my weeknights. And on the weeknights that I'm not doing that, I'm reading. And I feel like getting 5 books read in that time frame was a-okay with me. But we're gonna go in order, but before we talk about the books I finished, let's talk about the book that I DNF'd, because that did happen. So I actually DNF'd The Teacher by Frida McFadden, and I got 48% into this book before I decided to DNF. Some of my friends were like, let's try reading it, and so I tried reading it, and as a teacher, it was just too content heavy for me. The premise of this book is we are following a couple. They're both teachers at a local high school, and the year before something happened with a student and a teacher, and it was kind of a rumor, but it got that teacher fired, and now this student is in both of their classes, and the story just takes off from there. And guys, this book just had everything that you don't want to read about happening with teachers and students happening, and it just was not something that I wanted to read about. It wasn't something I needed in my life. Not to say that like it was a bad book. A lot of people are giving it a pretty good review, but it was not for me. So it was a complete DNF for me, and it kind of makes me question whether I want to keep reading Frida McFadden books. This month was weird. I only read 20% of the month physically, and all of the rest I read on my Kindle, which I don't know that I've ever had a month where I read more on my Kindle than I do a physical book, but it happened this month and I'm not mad about it. First book that I read in February is not going to come to a surprise to many people, and that was Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This was the much anticipated 3rd book in the Crescent City series, which I have just loved. I really, really liked the first book. The second book was pretty good. And then I loved this book. And I'm not going to say too much about it, but something that I always think about when I am reading fantasy, or I am reading like a kind of war heavy book, or even like a chosen one book, I want to know about the lives of the people who are affected by what's going on with the chosen one, because like it affects everything in the world. It's affecting more people than just the main characters. And I feel like in this book, not only did we see the main characters making these decisions, but we also saw how it affected the side characters, the people who aren't directly involved in the war or the catastrophic event. And I really liked that about this book. I gave this book 5 stars. Honestly, I have really enjoyed the Crescent City series. I know that it has very differing opinions, but this is one that I really would like to revisit one day. I have not read the bonus chapters yet. I have access to all of them, but I have not read them yet because I'm just not quite ready to say goodbye. Next up, I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is categorized as a cowboy romance, and so I actually read it in my cowboy romance vlog. It was the first book I read, and really it was the first cowboy romance I officially read. And that's funny to say, because I wouldn't even call it a cowboy romance. It's not your typical like, I'm gonna go out and ride horses on the ranch cowboy romance. The book follows Summer, a PR agent, and Rhett, a professional bull rider who has made some pretty bad PR choices. Summer gets assigned to work with Rhett and kind of can help keep him in line so he maintains a good public image, and a romance blossoms from there. First thing I'm gonna say, if you don't want to read spice, this is not the book for you. It was pretty heavy on the spice, and even if you're somebody's like, oh, I can just skip the spicy scenes, you can't, because their inner monologue is just constant spice. So I enjoyed this book for the most part. I thought that the characters acted their age, which in romance books is something that is so important to me, and their romance was pretty believable. I just thought that some of the dialogue was cringy, and I also just wanted a little bit more cowboy from the cowboy romance. That said, I am really excited to continue the series. I hear the next book and then the one after that are like chef's kiss good, so it's one that I'll pick up when I have some time to continue my cowboy romance read along. Next up, I continued my cowboy romance read along with Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. And when I give a book 3 stars, it does not mean it's a bad book. It just means it didn't blow me away, but it didn't suck either. So this book follows our main character, who is a professional barrel racer, and she has been injured and is kind of scared to barrel race anymore. So instead of living out her life and continuing barrel racing, she decides to move home to her small town ranch. It's here that she reunites with her brother's best friend, Luke Brooks, and is a brother's best friend romance. There's not much more to say about that. There is a lot of cowboy, there is a lot of riding horses, and it's pretty cute. There's a lot of going to the local bar and dancing, and it was cute. Again, the dialogue kind of cringed me out. I gave this one 3 stars as opposed to Flawless that I gave 3.5 stars because in this book, I just felt like the characters weren't their age. Luke is supposed to be my age, in his 30s, and this man has the mind of like the 12-year-olds that I teach. And I was like, am I really reading from somebody in their mid-30s? Because it does not sound like it. But overall, I'm also excited to continue reading this one. I have an ARC for the second book, which I think came out this week. So I'm excited to get to that one at some point. It's called Swift and Saddled, and just to spend some more time in this world that Lila Sage has built. It's fun. It's not life-changing, but it's fun. The next book was The Clinic by Kate Quinn, and this book will always hold a special place in my heart. First of all, it's special because Jessie from Reading with Jess invited me to be a part of her book club for the month of February, the Sleep When I'm Dead book club, and it was so much fun. It was fun reading along with these ladies and getting to discuss the book in the live show. Everybody loved it, which is not typically the case when you attend a live show. There's going to be people that love it, and there's going to be people that disagree with your opinion. And in this case, I think everybody gave it at least a 3-star or above, but if I'm remembering correctly, like the general consensus was that it was a 4-star book, which is what I gave it. It was also super special because I got to interview Kate Quinn along with Jessie and the other co-host, my friend Hope from Hope on the Coast. We got to sit there and do a whole Zoom interview with her, and what a cool experience. Like, BookTube has brought me some cool experiences. It was a really, really good, unique thriller. So we are following our main character, and she starts out the book working kind of undercover at a casino to bust people who aren't acting appropriately in a casino. And she has a sister who is a famous country singer, has entered rehab to get some help, and has died in rehab. And it is labeled a suicide, and our main character just cannot believe that her sister committed suicide. She decides to continue her kind of undercover charade by entering this rehab facility and figuring out what happened to her sister for herself. While she's in there, she learns about getting help and asking for help and receiving help. She learns about the other patients who are here, some of which interacted with their sister, some didn't. But the really cool thing about this book, yes, it was a thriller. Yes, we're trying to solve the mystery, but it was a book about empathy and putting yourself in other people's shoes and realizing that even when people make bad decisions, they are still people, and everybody deserves love and respect and the same access to care that other people do. And I had a really good time reading it. It was a page turner, the chapters were short, and I thought that for a thriller, it really took some unique turns that I had not seen done before. And this is coming from somebody who used to pretty much read only thrillers, and so that says a lot to me. I'm definitely interested in picking up Kate Quinn's backlist and looking forward to what she puts out in the future. The last book that I read was an ARC, and that was The Rule Book by Sarah Adams, and I had the most fun time with this book. So I received this as an ARC from NetGalley. Thank you, NetGalley. My formal review will be on Goodreads and Storygraph soon, but this book was just like candy. This was the nerd gummy cluster equivalent of a book. So this book is technically the sequel to The Cheat Sheet, but it's following a different character. So we are following a football team. They're the LA Sharks. In The Cheat Sheet, we followed one character, but in this character, we are following a tight end named Derek. And we are also following our female main character, whose name is Nora. Much like Flawless, Nora is a PR agent, and she is getting assigned her first big client. Turns out her first big client is Derek Pender. No problem, right? Except there is a problem because these two dated in college and had a pretty messy breakup. Nora just kind of left him out of the blue, and he was head over heels in love with her. Neither have really gotten over it, and they both have their reasons and their ways of coping with this breakup. So at first they're like, no, this isn't gonna work. And then they're like, but you know what? Let's try and make it work. And so they do. Nora is somebody who feels really big feelings, but doesn't know how to cope with her feelings, and she deflects with humor. And that was so relatable to me. I feel like Nora is one of those protagonists in a romance story that I identify with. And that doesn't happen often. I always feel like I don't see myself in romance heroines very much, but I did see myself in Nora. I loved Derek. He was a magnificent male main character. The other thing that I loved about this book is the dynamic of the team of the LA Sharks. If you have seen Ted Lasso, you know what the Diamond Dogs are. It's a bunch of guys, they get together, they help themselves with life's big problems. And in this book, the LA Sharks, the core teammates that Derek is a part of, they help each other out so much when it comes to life and love and life changes. And I just, like, when this book comes out, you need to read it. If you haven't read the cheat sheet yet, I recommend reading that one. That one was a 3-star book for me. It was pretty good. The rule book, 4.5 stars. Loved it. Almost perfect. There were like the teeniest, tiniest little things I was nitpicky about, but guys, please, 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 please read the rule book. I highly recommend it. So while February was not the best reading month I have had in the quantity of books I've picked up, I felt like the quality of books was A+. I'm very happy. Hey, honey. I'm very happy with the books that I chose to read. Guys, as always, my social media is linked down below. I would love it if you came, checked it out, had a conversation with me. I love talking to you guys so much. If you want to share your favorite book from February, make sure you leave that down in the comments. And if you're not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more bookish content from me or any more cat content from Zelda. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Bye, guys.